The next question relates to whether there was consultation from Senator Langat. In my background presentation, I did indicate on pages 2 of the landscape document the consultation that there was between the Ministry of Health, the governors, as well as the Ministry of Health and the CECs, including what I have given as one of the annexes of the communique which was signed by the ministry and the county representatives. The other question, Chairperson, raised by Senator Langat has to do with the...
Chair, before possibly she continues, she has mentioned about a consultation that has taken place between the ministry, the county CECs and the governors. So in this particular case, do we have a signed MOU between the ministry and the governors and the CECs? How do we know that they came to this meeting, they signed an agreement? Do we have the documents showing that? Because what we have in Annex 3 is only, it's not a minuted meeting, neither names of participants of the meeting, neither signatures of participants.
Chairperson, and
unless I have a wrong document.
Use Annex 6 through the Chair, Honorable Member.
Annex 6.
Is a signed joint communique following the meeting.
The names of participants from each county? Where did they sign?
The IGF framework, Chairperson, allows for the CECs, through representation of the then chair, who co-chairs with the minister, the line minister, to make the commitment as it were. If we would be required to bring the attendance list, Chairperson, which is not part of this communique, we will be able to do that. You satisfied, members?
What I would have expected, Chair, is that when the national government engage itself into an activity of the county government, I would have expected, according to the law, an agreement signed by the CS and the governors of each and every county, showing the equipment to be supplied, at what period of time, what conditions should prevail, who will be maintaining them, and so forth. And as of the county like Bomet, which never signed.
And the county governments, in some cases the governor signed, in some cases, like I'm looking at Turkana, the CEC on behalf of the county signed. I have a set of those MOUs. That happened much later. But I thought what... the one I'm holding right now is July 2015.
When the first batch of equipment had been delivered. Is that correct?
That is true.
Yes. So it is wiser after the event.
Well, it is good to look at, if you will, an aging, analysis of who signed what time. That can be done because I'm just using the one I'm holding.
Okay.
And as you realize, Chair, honorable members, is that different counties executed these at different times, because at one point it was felt that they were not able to sit the way we are to sign all at the same time and own the process. But what I was trying to paint for me is the documentation availed in the consultations which happened even before the procurements were happening, including the joint assessment of the project.
Minister,
yes.
Does it make logic and sense to you that you deliver equipment to a county, then you come back with a document and say, let's sign an MOU to show that you needed this equipment before we delivered. Does it make sense both in law and in fact? Because an MOU gives you, even as as a minister, a responsible minister, I know this didn't happen at your time, but you carry a collective responsibility and successive responsibility. Does it make much sense? Because it's the MOU that will then give you authority in law and in fact to be able to deliver the equipment. Why would you deliver equipment to a county, then come back months later or a year later to ask them to sign a validation document?
You know, Chair, allow me, if we isolate one issue at a time and fail to look at the entire context of this project, then it will be easy for me to respond to Senator Wetangula. But if you look at the context, including the background which I've given, where we started, the amount of consultation, the joint assessment, then I think you will perhaps not be able to isolate and respond.
When you see a building standing, each brick, each block matters.
Yeah?
That's why we're isolating them. And these are public resources being used in a manner that the Senate thinks was not proper.
I will stand by the communique which committed. Within the legal framework, the IGF is recognized to be the framework within which the ministry engages through the CCs with the counties. Because there was a meeting which is minuted and a communique issued, which happened before the MOU, I wanted to take the assumption that that was part of the acceptance, as it were, before you went. We have, Chairperson, made an analysis of the two options, and clearly what I have tabled to you as Annex 10 does indicate that the reason we went for lease instead of purchase, that there was an advantage of lease over the period vis-a-vis outright purchase. Number one, and it is number two, and it is not documented here, is when I speak to the colleagues in the National Treasury, is that there wasn't that amount of money for investment outright at the point of purchase, because it would have meant the entire amount is availed within one financial year and it is put out for purchase. So those were the two considerations that were taken.
Maybe there, I think this is clear. But had the ministry also weighed an opportunity or a position of higher purchase, that instead of leasing, we could get somebody to supply this particular equipment at a down payment of a certain amount. And then what we are paying every month now to some things that will go back to the owner at the end could be now the progressive payment towards the last amount of the higher purchase. Was such an opportunity put into consideration?
To the best of my knowledge, it wasn't. It was either outright purchase or lease, Chairperson.
Are you done with the questions from Senator?
Was variation that the COG indicate there was no variation, Chairperson. Indeed, the counties, some of the counties made requests to the ministry. Now, whether I'm able to avail documentation to that, I have not located any. I haven't located any, but that is what my team tells you.
Waziri, variations were done during your time, isn't it?
No, Honorable Chair.
Actually,
no, Honorable Chair. None of.
So there are no documentations to show that variations were carried.
No, but what I have is request which came during my time for further variation, which has not happened.
Can we have a copy?
the CS has stated very clearly that though the requests were made by various counties towards the increase of 21, there are no documents to justify that. I think that is what is very important for us to capture. And also on top of that, I had asked, then why uniform deduction of 200 million, or uniform whatever, whether it was deduction from the source or money given. Yet some counties, this equipment, we learned from the control of budget that some of these equipment have not been used up to today, yet the money is being paid every month. And as we are advancing towards 2022, the end of the lease period, we are still paying for equipment that they are not being utilized. That was what we...
I think, Waziri, if we look at Annex 17, the only variation you've given us is regarding Lot 5. I don't know whether you have evidence to the rest of the variations on the other lots that you have done.
Chair, but it was not part of what I tabled. To note that even after that variation, I have sets of formal requests by the same counties, including the chairperson of the COG, asking for additional equipment. I would like to table that. From Senator Kareno, she had a question in terms of...
You have the request from COG, Chair?
You have that? We'll table that, Chair. Okay. And a few others. On the next question was why deduct money at source? I think that's a question we've tried to respond to. It should be responded to from my colleagues in Treasury. I still hold the position that this is a condition of grant, as I have made to understand. There was consultation, was the other concern raised by Senator Pareno. There was consultation, and I have given evidence to that level of consultation that happened. Chairperson, the no value for money was a concern also by the Senator. I have a report which I have tabled as one of my annexes, reflecting on the value for money and value for life in terms of the final monitoring report which was done by the PKF at the midterm. I have tabled that as part of my annexes. From Senator Omanga, why did MOH procure itself instead of standardizing for the counties to procure? Chairperson, this ties to the issue of whether or not the counties are paying or the mood of how we are paying. And if I draw back the attention of this committee to when this journey started, it started before actually devolution, as it were. And therefore, it was found to be one of the projects which would continue. And that is why the ministry, again, given that the budget was appropriated.
Chair, clarification there. It started before 2010?
The conceptualization started
before 2010.
Yes. Yeah. But the ministry assessment, as it were.
So was it before 2010?
I can ask the Director General.
No, I just want to know, because we on it. That. Is it before you actually had it, before 2010?
Yes, for theatre, for example, it started in 2008, because then I was the head of surgery and rehabilitation in the country. So
what started before 2008?
The consultation, the assessments, some of the assessments in terms of theatre capacity. Actually, some consultation started in 2008-9, and then they gained gear in 2012, because I remember in February, I just forget the date exactly, February 2014 is when it culminated in us making a presentation. I remember I was the one knocking the laptop, and the CS Mashari was presenting. I wanted to get that thing and bring us evidence. But
Chair, 2014 we had the new constitution. The new constitution was in 2010.
Yeah, I'm just moving towards the culmination of the whole. But it started in 2008. Then I was the head of surgical and rehabilitation in the country. That's when we started you looking at the theatre capacity first of all, not other equipment.
When were the first deliveries?
This was now 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
In 2015, county governments were in place.
Yes, they were in place.
And Minister, the Constitution, Article 187 requires that if one level of government is discharging a function of another level, because you already agreed that it's a devolved function, when one level of government is discharging a function of another level, there must be an agreement between the two levels of government. That's a constitutional provision. Do you, apart from the MOUs, and you know an MOU is just a document of comfort, it's not an agreement. Apart from the MOUs, do you as a ministry have an agreement between the national government and the county governments that you are going to procure and equip hospitals in a function that is devolved?
Chair, I have not seen any such agreement.
Okay.
Number two, as you've given us the history of conceptualization from 2008, up to when you delivered the equipment. We have a record where the counties are saying they have not even seen the report of need assessment.
At all.
At all, at all. Now, when you came in, or when the devolution came in and you started engaging the counties, did you share that history with them so that you can bring them on board in terms of engagement?
Chairperson, 4 months ago, the cabinet and the COG convened a meeting that lasted half a morning. The reason for that meeting was for me to walk the COG through this set of documents, a set which they were required to also carry, including the COG Secretariat. We walked through, and at the end of that meeting, they said they are satisfied with the explanations. They may not even require the record. That meeting, the chair of COG is the one who had convened his colleagues.
According to him, the president directed you to set up a task force to look into this matter and report back.
That is what he told us. Yes.
So you can't be asked to set up a task force when everybody is absolutely satisfied.
Yeah.
It is not true on record. Not true.
The president never instructed the CS, as he was saying.
You see, chairperson, I find myself in a corner because when the chair or COG come and give a position, then I come after that, and then I'm supposed to respond to their position. I think it's also not very fair. The president gets as concerned when he has to read what he reads in the media about his project. Now, because the reason was for us to move forward with planning for UHC jointly, it is the desire of both sides to be able to agree and deal with any discomfort. This has been a discomfort with half-truths told every so often. No, this was not summit. This was not summit. This was a cabinet subcommittee.
No, he told us, to be fair to him, the direction from the president was at the summit that the Ministry of Health will be tasked to form a task force to look into this matter. So we should not bastardize him for no reason.
You know, Chairperson, summit resolutions are documented and relayed in written form as it were.
Anyway, you have to send us the minutes of that summit resolution.
Can we agree that from your end, there was no instruction from the summit for you to form a task force?
At all.
Is that the position, Waziri? Because he was on record here, and I think the media was also here.
Why don't we converge here, the two of us together, so that I am not reporting on
We will do that if you are required to do it.
Yeah, why don't we? Because now, you know...
We can do that. If you really want us to do that, we can convene both of you, or all of you, for that matter.
I think it's fair. I think it's...
You know, Chair.
Minister, the safety valve for you is that you don't attend summit. If any such direction was given, you are waiting for communication. Instead of engaging in a test of wills with others. Just say what you know. If you don't know, nobody will punish you for not knowing.
You know, I'm a very keen listener. And if the health summit is a health summit, it means any resolution made. Really, I'm responsible for execution and follow-up.
Yes.
These would have been such. These would have been such.
We'll call both of you
so
at some point.
Chair.
Can we have a report of needs assessment that you have carried?
It is one of the annexes. One or two of the 3 annexes. Yes, it is between annexes 1 and 3.
And you clearly shared with the counties?
Yes, we shared it in... Madam Chair, I think we had it at Lycol Agency in 2013. It's called a Saram report, and I was the master of ceremony on that day, 2013, at Lycol Agency.
Which annex?
The Saram report, that is Annex 7.
Read together with Annex 8, which is the preliminary needs assessment report.
And we gave them policy pull-out for every area.
I think we are kind of running short of time because by 2...
Part to the annex. Nyamira case quoted...
Let me ask Waziri.
Yes.
We had a CEC yesterday, or rather CECs, who have said, and in fact that was repeated by Senator Langat, that we didn't get value for money as far as the equipments are concerned, because the equipments that were delivered to them are more expensive than the market rate.
Yes.
Yeah. So have you done a tabulation to compare the prices, market plus what you have contracted from the contractor?
Not that is in my hands, not that I can reflect on, Chairperson, because I also do not know what the counties have procured, as it were. It's something that would have to be done jointly, if it is so desired.
Maybe what can help us, if you can give us the list of all the equipments that were delivered to the counties with the pricing of each equipment,
Chair,
that will help.
Your Annex 14 contains that, Chairperson, including the prices.
Thank you. I'm told we don't have Annex 7. Yeah. Proceed, Waziri.
Chair, I have Annex 7, a detailed document. Can we record that these will be copied and delivered? I have only one set.
Annex 7.
Yes, as I had indicated
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Thank you. I have shared the reagents, the starter kit. The other question was on the CT scan and being delivered at night again.
Yes.
The reagents. I think somebody had a question on the reagents.
There are two. I'm just following the order. From Senator Omanga, there was the issue of the CT scan being supplied to Kakamega and Nyamira when they don't need it. Chairperson, the letter which I forwarded to you is actually asking for more equipment. And I have a few other counties asking for more equipment. So it cannot be we are saying they are not required, and then they are writing to us to ask for more, and they're enough. So I'm
just before you proceed, Waziri, on the reagents.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm moving.
Okay.
The reagents, Chairperson, what was to be availed with the equipment was just a starter kit, and I have given a schedule of the starter kit that was distributed together with the equipment. It was then expected the counties were going to buy the reagents as they were going to do the O&M requirements of the equipment, including HR. That is contained in the MOUs which they signed.
So you are confirming to us the reagents after the first batch. They are supposed to buy the reagents themselves, the counties.
Indeed.
That's what, that was not what was in the contract. On the
Just to answer that, copy of the contract. That will help us to guide us what is the position in that.
That will do, Chairperson. The final one was why the same amount is being paid across counties, an example of Lamu and Nairobi. Chairperson, it goes back to the same issue, that if we had identified 98 hospitals initially and an additional variation, we were looking at them across the counties. And hence the money was on a pro rata basis, apportioned as such. Sorry, not the money, equipment. Because the money being paid to the contractors from the national government is servicing the equipment that were delivered, as it were, as opposed to saying that Lamu's requirements were lower than the ones of Nairobi. The assessment did not necessarily give itself to a population or the size. It just looked at a hospital, 98 of them initially, and an additional 21 in the counties. And that is why the amount then is equitable.
Minister, can I ask you a question on that? Although you were paying across board 95 million per county per year for the equipment initially supplied. Then you pick an additional 24 hospitals, 21 from counties and 3 national, right? Then you escalate the payment on the basis of those additional 24 hospitals from 95 million per county per annum to 200 million per county per annum, an escalation of 105 million per county, including those that you have not given any additional supplies. Where is the rationale for this? Why would you supply an additional hospital in Marsabit and bill Narok equally for nothing supplied to Narok.
Maybe in addition, Waziri, again, part of the justification is for the purpose of HCIT. And you have confirmed to us no payment has been made so far. Where is that money? Because it's already deducted.
In addition, Cecily, before you answer that, if you look at what you presented to us on your page 6, the expansion of mess to new hospitals, the additional money of 740,161,682, if you are to apportion it across counties, it means each county was to then pay an additional 15 million, not 105 million. So where is this escalation going to? And why would 21 be made to spread across 47?
Chair, I'll just make an observation. The narrative which I have given from pages 6 to 7, which is indicative of even the ICT contract, because money had been budgeted for, which also shows money which was supposed to go to the lab equipment procurement, which didn't happen. That money was budgeted for, it was not expended. Therefore, Chairperson, I was explaining and attempting to say that although the money in Kara as a conditional grant was moving from 95 to 200 million, indeed the expenditure was different from that. The money which was expended was different because we didn't pay for the ICT contract, neither did we for the lab procurements, as it were. But allow the finance officer again to just substantiate.
Minister, before he does, we have had the control of budget. And he told us he releases money on requisitions by ministries. And that in this regard, the requisition for escalation from 95 to 200 was on the basis that there were additional 24 facilities on the block. Not to mention that 3 of them are national government facilities. They are not county facilities, and counties have no business paying for them. So whatever your officer wants to say, it's important for you to know. The government can contradict itself as much as it wishes. But the control of budget has told us that you requisitioned an escalation from 95 to 200 on the basis of the additional facilities. Was he telling us the truth?
He told you the truth to the extent of budgeting, not expenditure.
He even told us how much money has released so far, and it's over 25 billion.
Chairperson, I have explained on page 7 that indeed there was budget appropriated for the ICT contract, but the money was never spent, so it was retained at the center. The lab equipment, again, it was anticipated when the tender did not materialize that there was going to be a repeat. It did not happen. So that money was not expended.
Just on the lab, Waziri, before you leave there, we have a letter or a report from Auditor General that on lot 3, which is laboratory equipment, which you have just confirmed to us, it didn't go through. You have paid a company by the name CIMEX Europe 29,964,830. Where did that come from?
Allow the CFO to confirm that no payment was made for those 2 lots. Chairperson, please.
This is a document from Auditor General.
One, let me also correct that the variation was 21 hospitals and not 24.
It was
That is the record we have.
21 county hospitals and 3 national facilities. This is from the control of budget, reading from a document from your ministry.
I agree. 3 counties, I agree. I mean, 3 referral hospitals, I agree.
Yes.
And that's why I'm going back again to the position that this, does national government, the national treasury, give conditional grant to national institutions? And the answer is yes. And because this is a conditional grant, we'd also condition and support Mathare Hospital, for example. The counties are really not paying for this, Chairperson, and I want to be on record on that.
I'll bring you to the law
Please.
at a later stage so that you can explain the legality for this.
Thank you, Chair. The money that was allocated for the MES project in the year 2018-2019 is 9.1 billion. The total expenditure that is indicated in the document that you have, I think page 5, the columns on variation and the payments is adding to 8.7 billion. The balance of 374 million was mathematically returned back to the National Treasury at the closure of the financial year. The payments that were made are listed as per that annex, that is Midley, the S-Team, the Belco, the Philips, and the GE East Africa. The company that was supposed to do the servicing for the HICT was the 7 Cs, and it's not among the companies that were paid in that financial year. Let me ask, in total, how much have you paid for MES equipment up to date?
Chairperson, would I refer you to page 5? There is a table which summarizes the amount of payments.
On record.
6.7 billion.
It's not on record.
It's in tandem with what the control of budget said.
At least we agree on that one.
And when
No. I think he gave us 25.9.
yes,
Control of budget,
yes,
25.9.
small difference, yes.
There's a small difference.
Now, when you return the money, officer, to the treasury at the end of the financial year, do you just release the money back, or you catalog and say, this money was budgeted for this, we've spent this much, this is the balance, we take it back to you? It's documented, right?
Mr. Chairman, in the final accounts, it is automatically returned at the closure of the financial year.
But you'll
Because
keep
you
your
capture-
record that each vote had this much, you spent this much, this is left. That must be part of your audit records.
That is in the final accounts.
Yeah, will you be able to bring us documents to support what you have just said?
The final accounts, I think it can be produced. So lot 3 and 4, you've paid nothing?
Nothing,
Okay.
Chairperson.
That there was no involvement of the Minister of Health to the county governments. And this we were told yesterday. It is common knowledge. And it is also common knowledge that there was variation of funds from 95 million to 200 million. Now, one wonders why, okay, we have had some explanation on why the money was raised to 200 million. But the issue here is that the machinery was mostly bought in 2014, 2015, 2016. Why was this increment? And what is this money doing? Because medicine is being bought by county governments, reagents are also being bought by the county governments. So what is this money being used for? That is one of the questions that I would ask. Again, the contracts. We were clearly told that there are no contracts between Minister of Health and the county governments. The contract that there could be is between the ministry and the contractors who are leasing the machinery. Why has this been a secret? Why haven't we given the contract documents to the county governments? And yet, they are the ones involved. It is also very clear, Chair, that the 200 million that is being deducted is being deducted by the central government. Why can't this money be taken to county governments to spend it the way they think that would help the public? Chair, I think those are the few questions that I would have.
Quickly, Senator Mary, and then we'll have to. Yes, so you are carrying other people's burden. So maybe try and respond to that.
Chair,
The question?
yes. Then
You
the record I have is that the med soup and I think the technical officers are the ones who received the equipment and signed onto it. Chair, I said in different response.
Delivery notes. What she's asking
Is the MOU?
that you deliver the equipment to each county on the basis of an MOU between the ministry and the counties.
I was going there.
Bomet never signed anything.
I was going there to
Okay.
say that because of the friction that was then obtaining, Governor Ruto, then as the chair of COG, felt strongly that he could not be the one to append a signature because then you'd set the pace for the others. That did not mean they didn't have the need for the equipment. Chairperson, I've since followed up with Bomet myself, when I came in. And actually they are looking for more as well.
That is not the issue, Minister. Minister, that is not the issue. We're talking about legality. You can't operate outside the law. However well-intentioned you may be, you are guided by the Constitution and the law. And it is very clear that Bomet did not sign anything. So as an accountable officer of government, on what basis did you do deliveries to Bomet? When you procure for Bomet, when the law is pretty clear, even if you go to the Intergovernmental Relations Act, I don't know if you have looked at it, it is very clear that a transfer or delegation of a power, a function, or a competence of one level of government to another must be backed by a written agreement. So on what basis can you account for equipment delivered in Bomet without any agreement whatsoever?
Maybe director can help you because you've not been there. I think this is a question that.
And by the way, what you can't answer, we'll ask your predecessor to come and answer. So you don't have to burden yourself unnecessarily.
You know, I also like to get knowledge as you are getting. I've done a lot of research on this subject, so it's part of the learning. But the DG was part of the whole process.
Yes.
You can speak to this.
As he answers that question, Chair, let us also know why machinery is being taken to counties without request by the county governments. Yesterday we had an issue of Kakamega saying that there were deliveries and they had not requested for the machinery.
No, actually he said when equipments are delivered to the counties, it's even done on a Sunday, at night, without delivery note. And one of the CECs also confirmed that we are not even keeping inventory of those equipments because they are not ours. Now, I don't know what will be the status of those equipments at the expiry of the lease. Thank you.
I think I'll answer myself to the consultation, and I think I'll look for that documentation. But I also indulge the members that if you can task COG Jacqueline was there, they had a resolution, because I remember it was, I'll get the exact date of the presentation, I'll present it. It was February 2017, and it was actually a COG meeting chaired by Governor Ruto, and the secretary was then the current senator, and then the chief whip, Senator of the former, no, the current, Speaker to the Senate. He was a secretary then, I remember very well. I did a presentation and said we were only two because we were 3 ministries called. Ministries which are responsible for devolution. We did our presentation at exactly 8:15. I have that documentation. And there was a resolution. Because the resolution then was that yes, we support this project in totality, including we did the purpose and financial flows. But I think then the only ask they did on that day. I remember very well. I think we need to get a resolution from COG because they didn't give us a copy. Was that if possible, please, let's agree on, don't touch on our equitable share and payment. That was the only request.
Madam Chair, listening to our officer here, the ministry officer, seem to be talking about resolutions. When you are dealing, my friend, with monetary issues, you don't talk of resolutions, you talk of agreements. When you go to the bank today to borrow money yourself, the discussion you have with the manager, does that give you money or you sign some documents? So we are talking of sign agreements, not contracts, not resolutions, and not meetings, proposals. So I don't think we need to waste much time on these resolutions.
I'm addressing myself to consultation. That's the only area. I'm not
No.
talking about money. Yeah.
I asked you to respond to the issue of Bomet because that is what is outstanding. Since you have been there, why did you deliver the equipments to Bomet when they have not even signed an MOU? Number two, when you are delivering those equipments, do you actually give them to sign delivery notes?
I think for purpose of record is that I think I'm saying what I did, and then I vacated the ministry on 14th of October 2014.
Where are you now?
I've just come back this year.
So that means you don't know anything about MOU between Bomet?
No. What I'm saying is that between October 2014 and February 2019,
we thought you are the one who is going to save this ministry because you had the background history, but it looks like you are also losing.
No, in terms of consultation.
Then he is just talking about presiding meetings, not agreements. Let us go ahead. Let us go forward.
But Minister Cecily, when you are delivering this equipment to various hospitals, again, prudent management of public affairs, public property, and so on, requires that when you deliver, there's an inventory and a delivery note to be signed by a responsible and accountable officer. Do you as a ministry have a record of the delivery notes and the inventory of equipment delivered to each and every facility in the country? Because according to the COG chairman, and he was speaking for his colleagues, no such inventories exist, neither were they ever signed.
Chairperson, I'm trying to locate the annex, and but to confirm that the receiving officers would sign normally, and we have those records.
That is in the ordinary course of things.
No, I mean it's the delivery. Because it wasn't that you are moving and dumping stuff without an accountability, because for the reason that we had to ensure maintenance as part of our obligation as national government, it would have meant that we necessarily must know what has been taken where.
For example, in Kakamega, the COG chair tells us equipment was delivered on Saturday at night. So who signed the delivery documents? The watchman?
Chairperson, I really may not respond to that because I don't know that it was delivered at night, on the one hand. On the
We
other
are
hand,
informing you, he told us already.
On the other hand, what I have is a report which has been signed by a responsible officer from these counties. It would be expected that it's not the governor who receives.
Okay, I think
there were issues asked by Senator Gediomi.
Just we have to conclude because we have a sitting.
There are very few, really. I think Senator Gediomi, the equipment are being paid for on a lease arrangement, and therefore for the next 3 years, a total of 7 years will continue to pay. So we didn't pay upfront. It's a continuous process. You are saying the contract, or there are indications the contract has been secretive. It's not been. Like I said, I took it to Senator Oparanya with his colleagues, and I said they can take a copy if they so desire. The last time I came before Senate, November last year, I brought a set. half of that set is happily with the media. They were able to analyze it very, very deeply. It is not a secret. I have the originals.
By for
which
your
I keep as
information,
well.
Waziri,
Yes,
yesterday
yeah.
he told us they have not seen a copy of the contract.
Yes.
And I think, I tend to believe that the reason why we are having the dark cloud in the whole scenario of mess is because of these documents that are not shared, unless maybe we are told otherwise.
Senator, I am saying now, this I am not reporting over time I was not in the ministry. I am reporting of my own personal responsibility with the documents which I have here. After the meeting which happened in Safari Park, co-chaired by Oparanya and Senator C.S. Matiang'i, I called the Secretariat CEO, Jackie, and I said, Jackie, you didn't carry the set which I had copied for you of the documents. Will you come back again and say we are not availing documents? She said, nah, tumeridhika. We are fine with it. I mean, how, as a minister, how far do I go with that now? The documents, Chairperson, and I'm saying, I've also heard the availability of the original contracts was an issue last year. I am saying I have the original contracts, personally with the 5 contractors.
Can we have a copy? Thank you.
Copies you have.
Yeah,
you have copies,
thank you.
but I thought
Thank you.
you'd want to validate, to also check the originality, because that was an issue. So it's not been a secret conversation. But Chairperson, I want to observe and say, I think it's been a very one-sided, biased conversation as far as I'm concerned. We speak to one side and they say what they view. I come and speak to what it is I view. Let's come together and be able to demystify whatever would be here, I think is my prayer really.
I think, Waziri, we don't have control over what a witness would say.
ICT solution was procured at a contract value of 4,756,773 billion shillings for 5 years, which would translate into a payment of shillings 970,381,692 shillings. However, this project Chairperson and members has stalled and no payment has been made to the contractor so far. Number 3, the managed equipment service had 7 lots, but like I have indicated, only 5 were awarded. The envisaged procurement...
Sorry, Waziri, did
Yes.
you give us documents on this procurement?
The ICT?
Yes, HICT.
I'm sure you have. Do you have that? Sorry, Chair. We will make arrangements to avail them as the meeting comes to an end. We didn't carry them because procurement aborted. Indeed. I was moving forward also to explain another reason of the variation, Chairperson, that under item Roman 3 on page 6, on the laboratory equipment procurement, the envisaged procurement was not done. Number 4, Roman 4, the service level monitoring and administration. Again, just to reflect that due to the nature of this program, a service level monitoring was envisaged. The monitoring was being conducted through PKF Consulting, again at a cost of 98.548 million shillings. This was one of the other reasons there was a variation. Additionally, Chairperson, honorable members, the Managed Equipment Service Implementation Committee required resource to facilitate them to supervise and monitor managed equipment service activities across the country. And in addition, the ministry therefore had planned to undertake a midterm review of this program, and this was expected to be at a cost of 200 million shillings. And in the year 18-19 financial year, service level monitoring and administration midterm review and PKF payments were therefore made at a cost of 298,548,722 million shillings. The above reasons, Chairperson, altogether explain the increase in the CARA for the managed equipment program from shillings 92 million in the year 16-17 to 200 million in the year 18-19 per county. That is, I've given a breakdown of that, Chairperson, in the table there, of just what I've been explaining. But allow me to note that, Chairperson, that this money under CARA is all moving as a conditional grant and not part of the equitable share to the counties, the whole amount of it. But allow me to also come, I'll be explaining in question 11 that follows here, the breakdown of the deductions under the project. And I wish to respond, therefore, to question 11, which is related to 10, as follows. That the national government extends a conditional grant to the counties for this program, which started in the years indicated 15-16 all the way to now, at 95.7 million shillings per year per county. But in the year 18-19, it went up on the book to 200 million per county. And I have shared this as Annex 18, which reflects CARAs of the years 15-16 to the years 18-19. The CARA allocations to date are, as indicated, 95.7 million shillings for 3 years, plus 200 million, which are vindicated for monitoring purposes, equals to 487,237,047 shillings per county for the 47 counties, which totals to Kenya shillings 22.9 billion shillings. Chairperson, if you can take a reflection on the annex itself, and you can guide if I can proceed or prosecute it more. Trained as Annex 21. Chairperson, it is contained in the same report here. So allow us to make a copy for Senate. Question 17 is details of consumables which were to be provided with each starter kit for each machinery in each county. In my response, Chairperson, on page 9, details of the consumable startup kits are captured in the specifications which I've already shared with you, but I have summarized them on pages 9, 10, 11, 12, sorry?
Senator, I think it's on this document. I don't know whether you have been following up. That is the document she was referring to.
The landscape document, Honorable Senator.
It's
a small landscape.
A document that looks like this, the Senator. You don't have your copy? It should be within your document. Just check. Thank you.
Question 18, Chairperson, is a schedule of the 21 hospitals, beneficiaries of the expanded managed equipment project. The question is what informed the expansion and what was the criteria used for their selection. In my response, I have listed, Chairperson, on page 13.
We are on page 13, members. Eh?
I have listed the hospitals, 21 hospitals. And in my submission, I indicate what informed the expansion and the criteria. In there on page 14, Chairperson, I take 3 reflections. One, that it was anticipated for us to achieve accessibility of healthcare services, particularly in the far-flung areas and remote areas, which included Moyale, Mpeketoni, Eldas, Takaba, and Suguta, Marma. It was important for us to have the expansion of the equipment. Number 2, to increase capacity in high volume and busy hospitals, especially for theater and renal. It was again anticipated it would be useful for us to reduce the waiting time for patients, hence that expansion. And finally, it was anticipated that for us to bring services closer to the people as a response to requests from some of the counties, it was important that the expansion takes place. Chairperson, the final question is the status of implementation of the Hospital and Healthcare Information System. I have alluded to this. It was supposed to connect all public hospitals countrywide and to allow for telemedicine. And if the payments done, any payments have been done so far, in my submission is that the ICT project has stalled and there has been no payment made so far. Thank you, Chairperson. I submit.
What I would want to ask the CS, maybe health is 95% devolved. Why is it that the national government decided to take it upon themselves to procure for the counties? It would have been prudent maybe for the ministry to come up with a policy to standardize or a framework to standardize so that counties can be able to procure their own equipment according to their needs. The way you do it with KEMSA, because there's a way the counties have been forced to actually procure from KEMSA, either because of standards or whatever it is, the reason, then the same should have applied to these equipments. And as Senator Pareno said, some equipments are not even equipment, these are disposables, like catheters. You know, why would we lease things like catheters, which are equivalent to gloves? You know, they are disposables, the linen trolleys, the stretchers. Why would we lease such things? Because normally leasing, the way I understand it, it's for specialized equipment, which maybe we cannot afford to purchase. Then, Chair, maybe I would want to request through you, the CS, to give us a price schedule of all these equipments per county. We want the county, all the equipment which were leased, and the price values in terms of figures for each and every county, so that we can look at it. Then why again, if they said they did the needs assessment and they consulted the counties as the CS claimed, why is it that then they did double like equipment? Like, I'll give an example of Nyamira governor was here when we were during PAC, and he was saying they had already purchased a CT scan, and yet a CT scan was brought. The chairman council of governors was here yesterday, and he actually was surprised by another CT scan during Mashujaa Day. He was actually not aware it came at night, and he was not aware. Actually, it's on record, and I think the media was here. He was actually surprised, and he had nowhere to take it. He has like 3 CT scans, like the one for Nyamira, the scan. There is no infrastructure because they had already procured, and whatever they procured is much, much cheaper. I don't know the value, the ministry valued that one, and that's why I would want the price schedule so that I can see, because them they procured, it was around, I think, 35 or so million, but I can imagine them they are paying, because what the governor said, the items they received were less than 10, and you look at the prices they are paying, then it's quite exorbitant. Then we look at Bomet County. Bomet County, the governor did not sign the MOU, and yet the equipment were taken. Is it that it's either whether you sign or not, the equipment were already purchased and they were being taken, or the counties had to agree to it, to the contractual agreement? So Bomet, I want to get the situation of Bomet County. Why is it that they received this equipment and the governor actually did not agree to this memorandum? Then the reagents, according to the contract, the sample contract we had yesterday, the contractor was supposed to provide these reagents, but the governors have been here, and the reagents, they have to pay cash, and they've been instructed to only buy from the suppliers, the contractors, and yet from the contract they were supposed to be given these reagents. then maybe finally it is this inequity. Why would Lamu or say Isiolo be paying the same money Nairobi is paying? Nairobi is paying 200 million. Isiolo, with its 2-3 constituencies, they're also paying 200 million. And you can imagine the population in Nairobi over 6 million. Isiolo would be less than 500,000. So why would they pay the same? Finally, the one for MTRH, the Moi Referral Hospital. So this